Hi, everybody. This is Bill from Billboard Comics, here back with another edition of Girlfriend's Guide to Comic Books, the guide to the people who love comic books. This is, of course, not just meant just exclusively for girlfriends. It could be for wives, mothers, sons, daughters, husbands, boyfriends, whoever. If you have somebody who is collecting comic books or comic book ephemera, and you want to be more involved in the actual process and hobby with them, or if you just want to buy them something for a birthday, or if you want to join the fun and become a comic book collector yourself, this is my guide to help you out in all those various and sundry kind of thing. I'm using my almost over 40 years of experience in comic books and buying comic books and collecting comic books to actually help you out in this matter. Hopefully this will be comprehensive, and I hope you'll be able to actually gain something from this. Today we're going to do something that's kind of comic book adjacent, but still worthy of being collecting. This is a section I'm going to devote to original art. Now, original artwork is basically there's various and sundry definitions and a lot of stuff that falls underneath that basic kind of umbrella, and I'll cover all of them today. But this might be something that your significant other might be interested in. He or she might actually like to have a piece of artwork by one of their favorite artists, like either a original page they drew for a comic book, or a sketch from them, or maybe a sketch cover from them, or a sketch book by them, or a print. All these could be attained by you, but you have to be a little bit smart and savvy about it. First of all, let's start off with what most people think about original artwork is the original art pages from the comic books. These could be prohibitively expensive, but you can find some that's kind of relatively cheap or inexpensive. By relatively cheap and expensive, I mean a couple $100. I mean, you're not going to find you might be really, really lucky if you find an original piece of artwork from somebody who is a known artist for under $100. However, you might find some from an established artist, or perhaps somebody who works on indie books or smaller books, for around $165, $200, something like that. The more important artists and more important artwork often kind of cost more. A recent example is that to give you an example about artwork, original cover by Jock, his iconic cover for Detective Comics number 880, recently sold at auction for over $288,000. You got that right. $288,000. More than the cost of a small home in major metropolitan cities, this person bought the original artwork. Not from Jock, of course, because the industry's not set up that way. Why did it sell for so much? Well, first of all, explain that will explain a lot of things about doing original artwork pages. It's an iconic image. Iconic images from the comic books usually sell for more than just any regular kind of image. It also features a popular character, Joker. Certain characters, you'll have to pay more for the original art. An original page of Batman artwork from a Batman book, even if the artist is Joe Slobotnik and nobody heard about him, or Jim Lee that everybody heard of, you're still going to pay more than you'd pay for somebody who did a drawing of, say, Squirrel Girl from one of her books that she was in. It is also one of a kind. Usually all these original art pages are one of a kind. It is something that you're going to have and hold for the rest of your life, and nobody else is going to have that. That's one of the reasons why these original art pages have a premium to them. And it also features the character prime and center on the cover. It is also a cover. Covers are usually more important and more expensive than interior pages. Interior pages usually are broken up into panels 9, 3, 16, however much is on the page. You might find more information, more characters on it, but covers are usually just one big poster-sized artwork that you could actually hang on your wall and use it as more of a piece of artwork and less distracted, less broken up than an interior page would be. This is kind of like the things about dealing with original art. Some characters will have be more expensive than the other. If a lead character is featured on a page, it'll cost you more. If you have just two people in an office speaking, that was on page 76 of a Superman book, you might not have to pay as much if like it's a picture of Superman punching out Lex Luthor from another page on that book. This is all the kind of like varying degrees of what makes original art pages valuable. You should not go in there expecting, if you want like a high end, paying any less than $1,000 for it. And as you can see, it goes up to a couple $100,000 if you're not careful. You just have to decide like what kind of artwork you'd want for your significant other, or what kind of artwork he wants. If buying a piece of original art, an original art page, might be a nice gift to get somebody. It's the gift to get somebody who has everything. If he has every issue of, say, Avengers comic books or X-Men comics, and you don't know exactly what to get, or he has most of like the DC Comics, Detective Comics run, and you don't know which issues he's missing, getting a piece of original artwork from one of the books that he has might be a good alternate gift to actually trying to actually figure out what comic book to buy him for a gift. And like I said, you'd have to shop around and stuff like this. You get cheap artwork, but again, it's probably going to be a no-name artist on a interior page featuring no main characters. It's just landscapes or supporting characters. But it is possible to get that. But let's say you don't love your significant other enough to buy them $288,000 cover from a Batman book. You want to get something a little bit cheaper. Well, here comes the world of original sketches. Pretty much every artist worth their salt will be able to do original sketches for you, depending on their schedule and how busy they are. If a guy's doing 2 monthly comic books, he might not have a free and clear sketch schedule. However, a comic book artist from the 80s who might not be working on a regular book variety at this time, he might have plenty of time to do as many sketches as you want. So where sketches are a bit of a benefit over, say, original artwork or original art pages, is that you have more control on what goes on to the sketch. For original art pages, you're forced to whatever is on the page, whatever book it came from, whatever character it is, and you can shop around for whichever character you want and which artist you want and try to get that. It is kind of maddening to try to match all of them together. However, if you get a original sketch, you could go to your favorite artist, get him to draw a picture of your favorite character, and be done with it. These sometimes are not cheap either. It all depends on what you want. If you want a head sketch from a relatively unknown artist, you could probably get that for $20 to $40. However, if you want a full body image from Jim Lee, if he's able to do it, and he probably isn't because he's busy running a company and writing comic books and drawing comic books, it'll cost you thousands of dollars. But on the average, it'll be cheaper than actually buying original artwork, and you have more control over the aspect. If your significant other has a sketchbook full of sketches from all artists drawing Kachu and Francine from Strangers in Paradise, done by all the different kind of artists in the world, then that'd be an excellent gift to get for him. Get somebody who he hasn't in the book draw the characters that he loves, because you have to steal away the sketchbook and all that jazz. It is another aspect of trying to do this. It's like, and this is what encouraged by the comic book companies, is sketch covers. A lot of times when, if you've noticed in doing like these guiding line segment I do for this channel every Friday, a lot of comic book companies, when they have more than one variant cover, usually come out with a sketch variant to go along with everything that they have there. It is printed on a different kind of paper than the actual normal cover would be. It's more kind of like a drawing paper kind of consistency, and it's designed exclusively to actually have somebody draw on it. Usually this is a good place for head sketches and stuff like this, but I do see some people go all out and draw actually scenes in it. Frank Cho is really good about doing sketch covers. He usually does a gag on the cover, usually tying into one of his most recent controversies of the day. But it's gorgeous, and usually has a beautiful picture of a woman under it, and it's got cross hatching, and it's very detailed. He's a really great artist, and you really get your money's worth for that. I don't know how much he charges for a sketch cover, but his sketch covers are really involved and intricate and funny, and well worth the money, whatever you're paying. However, some people might not be willing to put that much detail into a sketch cover, or might not be able to. They might not have enough time to do that, and you might just get a head sketch. Head sketch is usually quicker to do than anything else. Or you might get a full figure, and some people might do a full figure, and if you make a good enough impression on them and they like it enough, they'll color it in for you. I saw somebody who, I think might have been Lunch Money Comics or somebody else, who asked Joe Staten for a sketch, and he did not just a sketch, but he colored it in and did a full body and did backgrounds and everything like that. So that's, be nice to the people you're getting the sketches off of, because you might get a little extra on top of that. But what if the couple $100 for a sketch isn't good enough? What if you are one of the working poor and you are trying to hold on to middle class by the skin of your teeth, and you can't really afford to spend hundreds of dollars on original artwork? Well, there's a solution. This is what I like to do. A lot of artists and have, especially in artist alley and conventions, or when it comes to comic book signing stuff, bring a whole bunch of prints. These are pre-made artwork that they printed off. Usually they're full color, and they're on glossy paper, and they act as like kind of posters. And usually they're relatively cheap. They're like $20 a piece. Or a lot of times they're $20 a piece, or you get 3 for $40. That is what happened at the recent Comics visit that I had, where Christy Zulo Uminga and Chris Uminga had the actual whole bunch of different and varied prints you could choose. They're $20 each, or 3 for $40. That is a whole lot better than a $288,000 cover or a $2,000 figure sketch on a comic book. The one problem is like from the other two is like it doesn't really tie in iconically to the comic book. The original artwork, basically, it's a way of actually seeing the actual line work and it's like a connection directly from the artist's creativity through his hand into the pen, from the pen onto the page, from the page onto the comic book, and then the page goes into your hands, and you own a part of that history. That's what I think the major selling point for original artwork is. Original sketches, you could get whatever you want on it. I know a lot of people. My daughter, when she first was becoming aware of comic book conventions, we got her a sketchbook. She was taking for it for a while. She's not really that much into it now, probably because the last sketch she got in there, the guy made her feel bad about it. But I digress. When she was about 5 or 6, we took her to get a whole bunch of sketches in her sketchbook, and her theme was Disney princesses, mainly Anna and Elsa. So she's got Fred Hembeck doing Elsa. She has George Perez doing Anna and Elsa. She has Rag Morales doing Elsa, Anna, and I think she has a whole bunch of other ones like Jacobs Jabat doing one, and Franco doing one, and Art Baltasar doing one. She has a pretty good sketchbook for a kid who was at the time 6 or 7. So I envy her. And a lot of times she got for free because she was a kid. The one bad experience she had was a guy who didn't trust that she was getting the sketch for herself. It was one of Black Widow, because she was dressed up as Black Widow, and he somehow thought I was putting her up to get the sketch. I wasn't, but it's still, kind of ruined my daughter's joy for it. Thank you. You'll probably be able to find out exactly how much everything costs if you go. Usually these are done on conventions, the sketches and the prints and the art books. You go to the table in the artist alley, and they'll usually have the better ones, the smart ones, would have all their prices listed. If I have a little sidebar and a little arrogant kind of note to creators, put your prices out there on your table so people could look at it and walk on by if it's too expensive, or know what they're getting to, and know if they had to hit ATM before they come to your table and don't order something and then realize they don't have money for it, or have to ask you about how much it costs and get the whole awkward thing of having to back away from it if they don't have enough money for it. It's it's a simple thing to do. Just get a piece of 8x10 copy paper, put your prices on it, and it'll take 5 seconds of your time. Everybody should actually do that, but once I do, if you're a customer, you'll be able to find out before you even have to take your wallet out, even ask what you want, how much everything's going to cost, how much it's going to be, and how much it's going to, how long it's probably going to take. Sometimes they put that in there. You don't expect to have a sketch coming back to you in like 5 minutes, and you'd be able to sit there and wait for it. A lot of artists, most artists, have commission lists that start getting filled up before whatever con they're at, from people who are going to be at the con, and they usually work on it right up to at the con and even after. They'll try to get yours in, and they will let you know if you definitely they will not sell to you that you're going to get it at the con and you end up not getting it. They'll try to avoid that as much as possible, but it's probably not going to be a case where they could do it right there while you're sitting there, because you have 3 or 4 people ahead of you, and you must get through those first before he starts on yours. That's not always the case. Sometimes people are really proactive about their stuff. Sometimes artists is not as popular as some of the other ones, and they have an abundant amount of free time to could do that for you. But don't expect to actually have it done right in front of you while you wait. That'd be nice if it happened. It'd be nice if we could actually talk to them about it and give them ideas on the fly. But that will not always happen. So it's always good to be very specific about what you want from the actual sketch before you actually get the sketch, so you're not disappointed at the end and you don't get something that you did not want. But getting back to the posters and the prints and the sketchbooks, usually they have these at the table. They're all pre-made, so they have characters. You don't have a lot of free leeway to actually get the character you want. You have to hope that he already drew the character or she drew the character, and it's in their portfolio, and you're able to buy a print of it. But however, this is good because we have a full color image, and it is definitely suitable for framing, and you can put it up on your wall, and you can actually have it be a beacon of joy and beauty every time you walk into your room or den or living room or wherever you put it. Sketchbooks are another good thing. You can't really hang the sketchbook on the wall unless you want to tear it apart and put each individual sketch up. But it is a good way of actually, if you appreciate a person's artwork, get good representation of their artwork. You get a whole bunch of their works in progress, their character design studies, their characters they have not worked on yet but really want to, and you put really a lot of love and dedication and detail into that image. I like sketchbooks. I like the idea of seeing oh wow, that's a really great death from Sandman. Wow, I didn't know they liked the Dark Crystal. That's a great one. Oh, this looks like a sketch they did as a preliminary sketch, a character design sketch for the time they worked on this thing like this. You can see all this and more in the actual sketchbook, and usually they run anywhere from about $25 to $40. Relatively cheap in comparison to the other forms of original artwork. So that's it. If you have any more questions about original artwork, let me know down in the comments. I aim to please, and I will tell you everything I know. I'm not really a big collector of original artwork. I do have a number of pieces in my collection, however. I do have a number of prints because I really do enjoy the whole idea of having something I could hang on the wall and not have to pay enough money that I need to sell my spleen to do so. If I'm spending $200,000 in a Comic-Con, I'm sure as heck not buying any piece of artwork, even if it's done by George Perez and it features Winona Ryder fighting against the Avengers. That would be right up my alley. However, I would not pay that much. I would spend that money on comic books rather than on one piece of artwork that I'd be afraid to actually hang up in case it gets faded by the sunlight coming into the room. You might be different. Que sera, sera, to each their own. But if you have any other questions, I will try to answer them. If you made this far, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You know you want to. If you've been back here a number of times, you know you want to subscribe to this, and it helps me out greatly. And if say somehow you fall out of love with me, and who could blame you, because you could just unsubscribe. I'm not going to come to your house and knock on your door and force you to watch my videos. However, if you do like my videos, subscribing is a good way to be alerted whenever a new one is up, and you don't have to worry about remembering to search for my name or the site's name or whatever, like anything like that. So that's it. Until next time, keep on collecting.